Hello and welcome to Metal Bites, the podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
That's right, which is mainly metal music and live music. I'm one of your hosts, Brian, joined with your other host.
Karen.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can tell it's another road episode. If you're listening to it, maybe you can tell with the audio quality or something. I don't know. We're using these cheap little mics to try to get better quality. Also, in a car, so it's a bit shaky, possibly with the video. At least when we're recording, that's what it looks like for us. So, whatever.
Sorry. We have a lot going on, so trying to double task.
Yeah. So, as you said, we got a lot going on. We're driving from Green Bay to Madison to go see Amon Amarth tonight. We saw Wage War last night.
Yep.
Doing a little bit of a vlog or something about this. We'll do an episode on those two episodes combined, probably on the drive home tomorrow.
Yes, yeah, hopefully.
But that's not what this episode's about. This episode, what is it about?
Judas Priest.
Yes, Judas Priest and Sabaton. This is part of Judas Priest's Inevitable Shield tour. Saw that May 1st in Rosemont at the Rosemont Theater. Ticket prices for that were $67.50 with $21.48 in fees and 17 cents in tax. Steep fees, but that's normal, I guess. But first time out at Rosemont. We've seen shows out at Allstate.
Allstate, yeah.
Is that in Rosemont too?
It's either Rosemont or Deerfield. I'm not sure how those.
Yeah, they're all sort of together. They're all the burbs and whatnot, right? So yeah.
It's basically by O'Hare. Both of them are really close to O'Hare's.
But yeah, first time at Rosemont at this particular theater. I go out there for Fan Expo or Comic Con or whatever the fuck it's called every year at the Convention Center, which is like right next door to this.
Yeah.
Always stay out there because I don't want to take the train and whatnot every day. Have this like little town center that's there, so I've known of the theater, the Rosemont Theater, for a while. Seen it because we walked by it when we go to the fashion outlets and shit.
Yeah, there's like a mall right there.
Yeah. It's just this giant box of a building, really, and I always assumed it was like a theater, like where you go to see plays and musicals and shit like that.
Which is basically what it was.
Yeah, basically. But when you walk in, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Like, you go through the front doors and you're like this grand staircase. Our seats were in the 200 section up in the balcony. This was a show that I was fine sitting down for. I didn't need to be standing up or whatnot.
Well, there was no standing. Even like the little pit area was chairs. So.
It was, yeah, exactly. Which the stage is, they removed the stage where the orchestra would be playing or something if they have like live music going on for the play. And that's where like the pit was, which was kind of cool to see because you remove the floor and it's this half circle.
Right.
With like a chunk of the wall gets removed as a walkway in and out.
There was no like rails, so people were standing up and like they could stand right on the stage or like right up to the stage. So I don't know how it is down there. Like if you have to kind of stay in your section because it didn't really seem like only the first row kind of did that, where people weren't like moving up, closer. But I don't know if you could have and just nobody.
I assume it's you stay in your seat or very close to your seat around and whatnot. But overall, the venue itself was really cool.
It was cool.
More ornate than I thought it would be, honestly.
Okay, I had a thought that it was less than other theaters we've been to, so...
Yeah, but it's newer. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, this is a newer one. If you go to a theater in Chicago, that's like an old thing that's been there forever. So the ornateness there is sort of like baked into just the time period it was built in the 20s.
Yeah.
Versus this definitely seems like this was built in the last 30 years. And
probably.
We're trying to make it look ornate and fancy.
It is the first bathroom I've ever used that has gold trim.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, when I used
the Chicago theater one?
Yeah, when I used the restrooms, it was really weird because it was just a wall of mirrors in front of you. So you're standing at the urinal. Yeah. You have a mirror that's then looking at the urinals that's behind you. It's like, it was really weird to go to the bathroom there.
That's very interesting. I mean, obviously the women's restroom's different, but that's weird.
Well, all in all, I like the venue. It was really cool. Cool aesthetic, I guess.
Yeah.
Unique and different, but I don't know. I kind of like the old rundown sort of looking theaters more than I like this newer, more polished looking one.
Yeah.
But it was still a cool venue to go to. Yeah, I guess let's get into the bands then.
Okay.
So you normally read off the set list, but since you're driving, I'll go ahead and
really
read it off this time.
So,
So for Sabaton, we get Ghost Division, The Last Stand, Swedish Pagans, The Red Baron, Bismarck, Stormtroopers, Carlos Rex, I'm not saying that right, Resist the Bite, The Attack of the Dead Man, Primo Victoria, Soldier of Heaven, To Hell and Back. Sabaton we've never seen live before.
No.
They were at Aragon when we had friends in town to see Harry Styles. That was the night they were in town.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
They do a bunch of vlogs, or at least they used to do vlogs. I haven't watched them in a while, but we watched that one a couple of times where they're in Chicago.
Yeah.
And they go to that theater and they're like, "This theater's like Disneyland." Like they love that theater, and the Aragon is super fucking awesome.
Yeah.
From an aesthetic standpoint, at least. It's one of those old rundown venues that we were talking about.
It's supposed to be like a Spain city center or something like that.
Spain or Italian, like an old-timey, like European is what it's based off of.
Yeah, like a city center.
Yeah. Venice or something, I want to say, I don't know. But the ceiling's all painted and whatnot. But they also went up to Al Capone's favorite booth that he would sit at, which is the one on stage left, I believe it is, on stage left, all the way in the back. So if you're like in the audience looking up, it's the one you can see basically level with the stage. As we saw with Lamb of God standing behind the stage, not necessarily the best viewing from like an audience perspective, but I guess Al Capone didn't want people coming up and shooting him or something. So
that makes sense.
Maybe,
so he could see out around and not like having his back towards him.
Not a sneak attack type thing. So I guess in his profession, that's probably wise.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about that.
No. But this is a band I've wanted to see for a while. I like their music. I think it's fun.
Yeah. I wasn't putting the Sabaton name to the songs.
Okay.
Like, does that make sense? Like,
because I played you these songs before, so you knew the songs. You just didn't know that was them.
Right. Exactly.
They're sort of like an L-Storm type band for me.
Yeah.
They're a thematic power metal group, and all their songs are about war and war themes, either battles or thematic aspects of war.
Right.
And kind of catchy, kind of, I don't want to say poppy, but like, it's something like you can get into and just like, okay, this is fun.
And it is very lyric centric as well, where like the lyrics are clear or the vocals are clear and like you can sing along and the music is like, cause it's power metal, so I think you said that already, but it is very quick and like, gets the energy going, and I think power metal shows are really fun to watch or like to view. I just personally don't listen to power metal on my own.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Things I'll listen to, I'll put up a few tracks every now and then. Bismarck's one I always listen to, The Last Stand, To Hell and Back, Soldier of Heaven. Those are like the core ones I usually go to. Ghost Division 2. But it's like I'll listen to one or two songs, like, okay, let's move on to the next thing, typically for me. But it is a band I've wanted to see live for some time now, ever since we missed that one show then. And through watching the vlogs and seeing other videos of them and whatnot, I knew they came out with sort of like the camo and those vest type things on and whatnot.
Have they had a tank as the drum
kit?
I
don't remember the drum kit, but that was really cool to see like this massive tank with the drum kit on top of it.
Yeah, that was fun. Like at first, my eyes didn't. How do I want to say this? Like I saw it, but then it didn't like register that I'm like, oh shit, that's a tank. Like that the drum kit's on. So I thought that was really really cool to how they like did that.
I don't think it's a real tank by any means.
Oh no,
I'm not
I don't
tank
think
expert.
So
I mean, it's not a real tank for sure, but the design of it, I don't think is based off real.
I'm sure it's just like a box thing around.
Yeah. But the design of the tank itself was more of like a Warhammer style tank for me because it didn't have the giant cannon out the front that you always think of, and maybe that's because that's where the drummer was and you wanted to make sure you saw him. But it had like these two massive, what do I want to call them? Gatling guns on the side, pointing outwards and just like different angles, which again it felt very Warhammery to me. Yeah. Other than that, like their performance on stage as well, I thought was kind of meh. They kind of just stood around. It was a massive stage for them to be on.
Yeah.
But
they all have like their spots.
Yeah.
But I think I realized with them as well as other bands that we just saw recently, when the backing vocal, like when the bass or the guitar has a big backing vocal part that's not just, every once in a while where it's like part of the actual vocals of the music, they can't move around that much because they need to be in front of the mic stands that's stationary.
Yeah, but I mean, he had a mic. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the backing vocals.
The backing track.
Yeah,
Okay, not track, the backing vocals.
Yeah. Because that's one thing I noticed is like they kind of stay in their spots because they have such a big. I mean, we've seen many bands obviously where there's like either very little backing vocals or just one person like every once in a while sort of thing. But when everybody kind of has this part, they have to kind of stay in their spots.
I guess thinking of like Slipknot, for instance, right? Like there are individuals in that band that usually sort of just hang out in their spot. The problem, or the good thing about Slipknot is there's 9 fucking people in there, so somebody has some free time to go run over here and fuck with somebody else type thing, right? So there you get a little bit more of a show aspect. I guess all I'm saying is like the stage itself was pretty sparse, outside just the tank, and then the 4 dudes up in front, right? So that, I don't know, it was a pretty light stage.
I mean, from like I wonder what size of stage they've been on at other places that they've been on the tour. Because like obviously if you have a stage design, you're gonna have it cohesive to like all stages and not just ones.
And you're also the opener, right? Mm-hmm. If you're headlining, you have more leeway and more freedom to do more stuff with your stage design. So
even when we get to Judas Priest, I didn't feel like that much going on.
No, we'll get to that. But I mean, I agree. Also, the stage felt very large for Judas Priest as well.
But that's why I'm wondering, like, if they've other places that they stopped, if
the stages were smaller.
Yeah, so they had to design around the average and not.
No, for sure. Yeah, you have to take that into account, right? Yeah. Like, you can't bring a bunch of shit for one stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my only like negative about their performance. Is it just felt very I'll say boring. Boring at times with sort of we're just going to stand here and do our part type thing and play the music. The crowd at first also didn't seem very into it, I didn't feel like.
Yeah.
But by the end, they definitely got
it. They were, yeah. But it's always interests me to be at shows that have seats.
Yeah.
Because it isn't like being in a crowd, obviously, where you're standing and like people are moving around and going through the crowd and everything. So I think it takes everybody, when you have seats, a second to be like, are we going to stand up? Are we going to stay sitting down?
Yeah, I also didn't like the venue because of that, right? Like, because it didn't feel normal. It didn't feel right to me either. It felt off. That if we had seen them at the Aragon, that would have been a much different experience, being able to move around and jump around.
And have the energy of the crowd to go around with it.
Yeah. Instead of, like you were saying, the slow sort of build-up type thing.
Right.
There were a couple people on the front, like you were saying, in the front row, that were going fucking insane, which was awesome to see. There was I couldn't tell it was so far away, but I assumed it was just lengthy, scrawny little kid jumping up and down.
I did see.
He seemed very tall. There was a 6-year-old up front, and it wasn't their first one. I think they got the sunglasses, right?
Yes.
The sunglasses, like, if you promise to
put your headphones back.
Put your headphones back on.
Your what do you call them? Like,
I can't remember.
But basically, like, put her protector. Ear protectors back on.
I enjoy Judas Priest as much as you're enjoying us.
Yeah.
Their banter, the energy they had amongst themselves was really cool and really fun to see. One part, like, the guitarist come over and start slapping picks on his head.
Yeah.
And then he takes those picks off and throws them into the crowd. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
All in all, I like these guys. I like their music.
I wish it was a different atmosphere.
Yeah,
we saw
for sure.
But, mean, it was cool like you said, like, if we would have been able to go to the Aragon show, that would have been probably a better atmosphere to see it. But, I mean, this is the chance we got to see them. So, I have a question for you, though. Like, so we were in the front row of the second part of the balcony. I don't know if that makes sense. There's kind of like 2 levels of the balcony.
Yes, the balcony is, like, when you walk up into the balcony, there's this walkway that separates the bottom part and the top part. And we were at that front row of that top part.
Yes, yeah. So, we didn't stand up during the show, like, at all, except for maybe, like, the last part of Judas Priest. But, like, I would think I would feel awkward standing up because, like, everybody behind us. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but was that your question?
Yeah, like, how would you have felt the same way, like, if we would have stood up?
I don't know. Yes and no. There were people standing up around us, standing up in that front section of the balcony as well. My thought is you're at a concert, and it's perfectly fine to stand up. And if you stand up, the people behind you shouldn't be pissed. They should then stand up themselves if they want to see.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Same thing with the sporting events. Like, when we go to Cubs games and stuff, and like they hit a home run, and people will stand up, and then they stay standing up after the home run for the next batter, right? If I want to see, I will stand up as well. Like, I'm not going to tell these people to sit down. You're there to have fun and enjoy the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's different than like the chatter. Shut the fuck up. But because that's just a different thing. Like, I am perfectly fine with standing up, and if people have a problem with it, stand up. That's my personal thought, I guess.
Like, I think I would have been the same. Like, if it was a different band, I probably would have stood up.
Yeah. One you were like really into.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, there was a couple times where I'm like, I saw some people in front of us, like in the second or the first part of the balcony, standing up, and I was like, oh, that's where they're like the only people in their section. But at first I thought that it was awkward that they were standing up, but then I had the same exact thought where I'm like, it's a fucking concert, like, yeah, you can stand up. Like, I don't know.
Again, different than having your own little conversation.
Yeah.
Which, I'm not going to bring it up. It's at every concert now. It's a pain in the ass, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm learning to tune out conversations.
I'm trying my best. Sometimes it's hard.
It is hard.
I still think it's fucking bullshit, but whatever.
Yeah.
Can't change shitty people. Yeah, I guess the only other thing I really have for Sabaton is Carolax Rex. I think that's how I'm saying it. Or that's how I'm saying it.
That's how you're saying it. You'll put it up on the screen.
It was up when we did the set list. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I mean, yeah.
But they sung that in Swedish,
yeah, that's cool.
which was awesome to see. And then they said they were from Sweden, which I knew, but I always forget. I always forget they're from Sweden, because when every now and then, like, what other bands are from Sweden? We'll, like, Google it, and they always come up. It's like, oh shit, that's right. I always forget about these guys.
I'm that way too, but I think that's because in my mind, like, I mean, obviously metals, like, the different genres are all over the place, but power metal is not something that I go to for Sweden. Does that make sense? Like,
I guess. But I mean, they're a war-themed only power metal, and Europe's seen its fair share of war, so they've got a lot to draw from for sure there.
Basically what I was saying is, like, when I think of the bands, I never go to power metal bands.
Gotcha.
To think that they're from Sweden. That was my.
Gotcha. But I mean, it's weird too, because like Ghost is from Sweden, and I don't think about Ghost as like Swedish metal.
Yeah.
Or Swedish music really, but like very diverse range of music there.
Yeah.
Usually when I go to Sweden, I think of like Arch Enemy, Amon Amarth, and In Flames are like the main ones for me. And I guess Orbit Culture and Halo Effects, like all of that, very similar.
Avatar.
Oh fuck, Avatar! Yeah, I forgot about them already. Shit.
It's too many to name.
Too many goddamn great bands out of Sweden. Anything else for you for Sabaton?
No, it was fun. It was fun. Just like I said, I wish it was a different venue.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we can get into Judas Priest then.
Judas Priest.
Start with their set list.
I thought you were going to say, Karen, do you want to tell us what the set list is? That's what we normally do.
Yeah. They started with Panic Attack, You've Got Another Thing Coming, Rapid Fire, Breaking the Law, Lightning Strike, Love Bites, Devil's Child, Saints in Hell, Crown of Thorns, Sinner, Turbo Lover, Invincible Shield, Victim of Change, The Green Man Militia, with the Two-Pronged Crown, Painkiller, and then for their encore they have Electric Eye, Hellbent for Leather, Living After Midnight. I've never honestly been a big Judas Priest fan. I know they were one of the founding fathers of heavy metal, which is great. I have respect for them because of that.
Right.
I like them because of that.
Right. Yeah, when I was at work, I had mentioned to my boss that we were going to Judas Priest, and he's like, "Oh, that's my era of music." And I was like, "I know. Gotta go see the classics." Like.
Yeah, and it's like when we got tickets for this, I was super excited. I don't think you really were.
No, I was like, "I'll go."
Right.
I wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't wait to see this." It was more like, "It'll be cool to see."
Yeah, and that's sort of where I was. You're not going to have many opportunities to do this, right?
Yeah.
maybe 10 more years. So I guess that's quite a bit of opportunity.
Well, but even 10, I mean, he's 72 years old, so...
Yeah, we'll see how long it goes. But I mean, it sucked. But I'm glad we got to see him, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Ozzy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
We're never going to see Black Sabbath, but we got to see Ozzy once at open air. So I'm glad we got to do that. I'm glad we got to experience that. And that was the only time we got to do it. He's talking about doing 2 final shows back home, and that'd be awesome to go see, but we're not going to make that.
We're not, no.
By any means, right? So,
like, even if we could potentially buy tickets, the finances to get over there would be not doable.
AC/DC's another one that might be touring later this year. I think they have a couple gigs in Europe.
Yeah.
But if they come back to the States, that's one I want to see because...
Just to see them.
Yeah, you're not going to get that opportunity much longer. So, and we talked about that too with other bands. Of like, there's some bands you're never going to see again. So this is where tribute bands come in and like paying respect to their music and to their performance. Right. That's the best way you're going to see some of these bands now and going forward. So I'm glad we went to the show. I'm not the super biggest Judas Priest fan by any means, but it was awesome to see, awesome to experience, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad too. I mean, like you said, I wasn't excited to go. Like, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's coming up sort of thing, but it was cool.
And there were people that this is their Metallica, absolutely. This is their wage war or something, right? Like, they were going hard, and it was awesome to see all the people. They were singing loud and proud. Like, it was so fucking cool to see and experience. We talked about that little balcony area we were in with, like, that walkway separating the top and the bottom part. During Judas Priest, there were a bunch of people that had got down out of their seats and were basically not moshing, but like dancing and having like bouncing around, having a good time there. Until security came, was like, you guys need to split and not be here.
It seemed like that whole area, like people were, standing there and taking pictures, or just standing against the railing, or like what I mean by the railing is like with their backs, the wall thing. And then security would come through, like kind of clear them out, and then like a new group would come and stand there. So it was like a never-ending thing. But I mean, I get when you're in a theater, they're like, you kind of need to stay in your seats, sort of thing. But I'm also back to the whole concert thing, where it's like, this isn't how concerts are.
Yeah,
like,
and I think it's for fire code though. Also,
I think so. I was gonna say that. I think it is to make sure the walkways are clear.
In case there's an emergency, then everybody can like get out instead of having to fight through.
Yeah.
Or people already there, like, in the way.
Yeah.
But after that first time, there's one guy who came and sat down on the steps next to our section.
It was so funny to watch him, because he he kind of like looked around, like, where can I go, that I'm not gonna, have to go back to my seat. I don't know where his seat was.
Yeah.
But it was like, kind of like look around, and I think I texted you, like, he's like a little kid hiding.
Yeah, you did, and I texted back, breaking the law. Yeah, he's breaking the law. Because they had just done breaking the law.
Yeah. It was funny. His whole, like, demeanor was just so funny that, like, he didn't want to go back to his seat, so he was like, where can I go that I won't get noticed?
And then after a few seconds, went back down, basically at the same spot he was at.
Yeah.
And that whole section, like, filled back up pretty quick after security passed.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, is, like, they would kind of, like, go through, and then, like, people would just fill back in. So.
Yeah.
Or a new group of people would fill back in.
So as I was saying, not the super biggest Judas Priest fan myself. I don't know their deep cuts, and I don't know if there really are any deep cuts on this set list. But there's a few I know for sure, like Breaking the Law, Panic Attack, I'm pretty sure I know that one. Rapid Fire for sure. Painkiller, Love After Midnight, Hellbent for Leather, like those are all songs I've heard and know.
Yeah. I only know a few, like, I probably heard all of those that you just named off, but like Breaking the Law and Living After Midnight are the ones that I know, know the song. Or, the other ones I'm sure I've heard before. I just don't know them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thinking about it though, how they opened was a little bit weird too, I thought, of the stage itself. Because they had this one curtain sort of in the middle that didn't spread across anything or anything. It was just sort of draped down.
Yeah.
And then when when the curtain drops, it's got like sucked up. And as it got sucked up, it revealed the steps leading up to the drum kit, and then all of the band
Yeah.
on those steps starting to sing and play, and then sort of come down and spread out over the stage.
Yeah, the curtain had like
it had
words
like,
on, like sayings on it. Like
I think from the album. I don't know the new
I was
album.
gonna ask you if you knew if they were from the album or not, but or lyrics to something or something. So.
Yeah, so it had something to do with the new album, I think. So it had the curtain had the same imagery
Yes.
and color scheme as the album.
Yeah.
Just like they have these two banners off the stage right and left up high that were also like the Invincible Shield album.
Yeah.
But that was just a unique way. I've never seen a band come out that way.
When the curtain first went up went up, I guess it got sucked up. So, but when that first happened, like, and I saw them standing there, it reminded me of like seeing old videos of like hair metal.
Okay.
And like how they would kind of start, or like how they would always. I don't know. I had this picture. Maybe it's not true at all, and I'm just making this up from like a couple pictures I've seen. But it's always like the drum kit, and then like everybody around the drum kit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I could see that a little bit, I suppose. But like nowadays, it's either everybody has their spot when the curtain already drops, or gets sucked up. Whatever it is, the curtain drops, right? If it goes down or up, whatever, the curtain's dropping. So when the curtain drops, like everybody's usually already got their spot, or they come out one at a time, take their spots, and then they'll start playing the music, and then the singer will come out when it's his time. The singer will,
like
right?
the drummer comes out into the kit, and then everybody kind of comes out slowly, and it kind of starts.
Rammstein did the same thing the first time we saw them, but slightly different in terms of each member came out one by one. So it started with. Yeah, I can't remember if it was Christopher or Flocka first, but it was one of the two, and then it was like one, then the other. And then Richard and Paul came down from the ceiling with like the sparklers.
Yes.
And then Oliver was out there somehow as well. And then Till came out in the tap shoes and did this like tap little number. And like his top hat and threw that out and it exploded. I'm
glad that you bring that up once a year on an episode somewhere of like how they enter, because then I forget about it, and then once you start talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. It's something that I forget about.
I love that song. It's Rom 4, I think is what it is. It's not a release song, I don't think. I can only find it on like YouTube.
Okay.
And I'll listen to it every now and then when I think about it. I just thought that was a great way to enter.
Oh, I do too.
For that particular band.
Yeah.
I could probably do a whole 666 on like different entering types, because every band does it slightly different, but it's still sort of very similar, right?
It's kind of fun when you're at like a small show or local show or something, and they just like the band just kind of comes out, and then they're like, "Okay, let's start."
Yeah.
Like it's different.
But that was like one unique thing here. Like, I've never seen a band all start with the curtain right in front, just sort of loosely draped over them, and then boop, curtain drops, and there they are. I assumed they would come out around that curtain, honestly, and I thought like the curtain would either be removed to reveal something, or I don't know what it was going to go on, or what I was thinking at the time. But otherwise, the stage was very large, as we talked about with Sabaton. And same thing, your two guitarists were up front, your bass had his little spot he was in back by the drum kit.
And then like around the drum kit was just like curtains that came out and around. And then they used that to for like wardrobe change, or like when they went backstage or whatever, they went through those curtains. Rob
Halford would always go back behind there. Every now and then he'd come out and sing and just sort of stand there. And in my head, I was like, he's going back there a lot, and he just pokes his head out basically and sings a little bit, and then pops his head back in, pokes his head back out. His whole body, not just his head, right? But there were times where he just stood right there by that little entryway.
But I guess going back to like the stage setup, again, we don't know what other stages they've been on. I just felt like it was very lacking on what they did with like the drum kit, and then they just had like those curtains around for what they could have done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of bands with elaborate stages. There's not a whole lot now that I actually think about it.
Not very much anymore. I guess in my mind, back to like seeing Iron Maiden a couple of years ago, like their stage setup was pretty good, pretty elaborate. It changed between like every 4 songs. They changed.
They had a lot more of like they had shit that would blow up. Not like blow up, but like blow up animals and not animals, like a giant Eddie or something that would be blown up behind the drum kit.
Yeah.
They had Eddie come out as well, but they have a mascot. Judas Priest doesn't have a mascot.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, they did have the lighting though.
They did have their symbol come down, right? That would come down every now and then.
And that had like stage lights on it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
They did have a lot of stage lights. I will say that. Like, it felt very smoky in there when we were in there. When the lights were going off, it felt very hazy to me when we were standing there, which made me think because as you walk in, the people scanning your tickets and doing like security and whatnot, every single person almost said like, absolutely no smoking. If you are smoking, you are not given a warning. You will be tossed out.
Yeah.
No smoking. But they did allow people to, in between acts, go out of the venue and back in so you could smoke.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool. Because we were walking down in between sets, and there's so many people leaving. I was like, they all fucking leaving before Judas Priest?
I thought that they did, and I didn't realize like you could go out and then come back, like re-entry was allowed, and I'm like, did people just come to see Sabaton? I think that's so weird.
Yeah. Also, Rob Halford driving the motorcycle out, I've known he's done that in the past. I've seen videos where he's done that, right? So I expected that.
I didn't expect it, but then once I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen that, like, in video, like what you're saying, like, that happened. And I think people are, knew about it and were ready for it because, like, people that I saw, like, had their cameras up already, like.
I had mine up because I knew it was coming, too.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah.
I thought that's how they'd open the set, honestly.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically how they open the encore, so.
I guess, even, like, thinking of the set list, like, granted, I said I know, like, 2 songs, or know 2 songs, so, recognize them. And I just felt like Breaking the Law was, like, pretty early on in the set.
Same, yep.
I mean, maybe it fits perfectly there, I don't know, I don't know how they do all their other sets, but I was just like, oh, that seems really early to have that.
Yeah, I mean, same thing, like, I expected that to be the closer, right?
Yeah.
Honestly. But not knowing or remembering, or, like, as soon as I heard Living After Midnight, it's like, oh, shit, that's right, that's their song, too. So after that, it's like, alright, this kind of fits the end of, like, it's the end of the night, we're going to keep living type of thing. I don't know if that's what the meaning of it is or anything, but that's how I took it at that moment in time.
Yeah.
All in all, again, I really enjoyed the set. I'm really glad we went to go see it.
Me too. I'm glad that we got to see them because, like we were saying at the beginning, like it was just a chance to see something that we probably maybe won't have a chance to see again.
Yeah.
So
maybe a couple more years left of touring or whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, they just came out with the new album, so.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
I see all these people who are, like, all these artists in their 50s being like, I don't know how much longer we can go, and then you see him in his 70s still going, so.
So I think I saw Metallica say that on, like, around the 30th or something, or James said something around that. I don't know when it was. It was sometime in the past. And so he's like, are you going to, like, an interview was like, are you going to keep touring in your 70s or something like the Stones do? And James is like, I don't know. The show we put on is much different than the show the Rolling Stones put on. So our bodies just might get hurt a little more. I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Jagger still fucking moves incredibly well for somebody who just had fucking heart surgery.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when we saw him, it was like the tour just started again because of having heart surgery. So I don't know. I mean, I do see artists. I mean, I'm going to Lamb of God now, thinking how Randy like jumps from the drum kit down and everything. It's like that's probably not going to be happening in their 70s, but I don't know. Yeah.
And Randy's like fucking 52.
He is, yeah.
I'm in my mid-30s, and I can barely put my pants on without hurting my back. I don't know how the fuck. Just healthier, I guess. Take care of your fucking bodies.
Yeah. You need to drink and do drugs for 15, 20 years, and then become sober and take care of yourself. That's how you do it.
I guess. I don't know. Same with, like, Corey. He's fucking old as shit, too. And he fucking moves around.
Yep. We're saying old as shit. They're only like 15 years older than we are.
Yeah, but still, like, we're clearly getting close to old as shit.
We feel like it. I feel like it today. I don't know. We've had 3 shows now in 4 days. But
anything else from, like, a show perspective?
No, I mean, It was a good it was a good show. Like I said, I wasn't like super excited to see it, and I wasn't jumping around and stuff during the show, but it was a very good show. It was good to see.
Yeah, same. And again, they're one of the founding fathers, so we got to see that in our life, which is awesome to say.
Yeah, exactly.
The last little bit before we leave, when we left, we drove up there because the idea was we would stay around the venue in Rosemont, because the next day we were driving up to Green Bay.
Right. And it takes an hour and a half to get up there from where we live.
In the city, because you have to drive through downtown. So
we were like, I don't want to do that twice.
Right.
So to get to Wisconsin, we have to do it again. So I was like, if we're doing it once, we're doing it once. So
we could have taken, if we didn't do that, we could have taken the train up, the train back down. We could have taken an Uber up and back, or a train up, then Uber down. There's many options to do it, right? But we drove up, and even if we didn't stay at a hotel, we could have drove up and stayed, like parked, and then drove back.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't want to do that twice. So.
Yeah, the point is, we did drive up there. We parked at the... what the fuck was it?
Parkway Park.
That little area I was talking about by the convention center, where they have like a little town center and whatnot with a bunch of restaurants and shit. A massive parking garage that's right there. And that's where we ended up parking. You get a ticket, then you have to pay before you leave. It's not one moment you go back at the gate, you pay. They have boxes and whatnot. So, put that in my wallet, went and enjoyed the show, came out. Massive fucking line at one of these pay stations. If you go to see a show here, there's more than one pay station.
Yeah.
There's one over by that entrance into that little town center area. Then on the other side of that, directly across from that, is sort of the walkways that get you into like the hotels that are attached to it and that lead to the convention center. There's a bank of like 4 or 5 pay stations there as well. So you don't have to stand in this massive line, and we didn't. We're going to go walk around and find a different one.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way they have just a single one of these, especially with it being at the convention center. So we walked around, we finally found one, and put our ticket in, and it was unreadable. Fucking bullshit, don't know what the hell was going on. Walked around trying to find people, there was nobody there.
Like trying to find somebody to help us.
Yeah, like an employee. No numbers to call. The little boxes have help buttons. We pushed the help button. Nobody answered. Walking around, getting frustrated. Eventually went to one of the gates to let you in. That would actually give us a ticket. A lot of them, when we went up to, they wouldn't. We thought it was like sensors or car weight type thing that would only do it.
Like if it felt that a car was there, it would give you a ticket. Because we just walked up and it wasn't moving as well.
But eventually we found one that was blinking, so we hit that. And it popped out a new ticket. Went to use that one. That card was invalid. So we had an unreadable card and an invalid card. Fucking pain in the ass. Eventually, we split up. You went to go find some. You found somebody who had the same issue where they couldn't read their card.
So I went back to that box, the first box that is closest to the theater, and another guy was there, and his was saying unreadable as well. And we were just like trying to figure out like what do we do sort of thing, and like he pushed his card in like 5 times like really fast, or like just kept putting it in, and it spit out another card that he then was able to use to pay. And so I was like, I want a magic ticket, I want to do that. So then I like tried it as well, but it didn't work for me. But I was just like, how the fuck are we getting out of here? And then I think that's when you called, or I had called you, but I thought I hung up. But anyway.
Whatever. By that time, though, I was up at our car, because I was like, fuck this, there's so many ways to get in and out, and there's some areas that have doors, like the gates open, that you just drive right through. You were thinking that could be, because I think there's like parking for condos there as well.
Yeah.
So maybe it's an entrance to get in from that, whatever, I don't know. My thought was, I'll go to the car, and I'll just walk from the car how we would get out, and see if there's an exit that's open.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there was. Yeah. And after walking around for an hour in this place, trying to fucking pay to get out, still have the ticket down here of like...
We wanted to pay our $15.
Yeah, let us give you our money. If you had somebody there to help us... But no, we ended up just going down, driving out through this open gate, and so if you go out there, the only thing I can think of, our ticket looks fine. There is one little crease, but it's very minimal.
Ours looked way better than the other guy's ticket. So.
Right. And the only thing I can think of, it was in my wallet next to like my credit cards, my cell phone, because I have a wallet that's also a cell phone case.
Yeah.
Maybe it demagnetized. That's the only thing I can think about. But yeah, if you go there, that's a possibility. Take care of your ticket, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we should have probably just left it in the car
And
then went back and got it or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, all those other people did the same exact thing where they put it somewhere
Right.
and brought it back. I don't know.
So if you go there, take care of your ticket. The gates might be open.
Or just wait till midnight and see if the gate's open. So
they could have been open the entire time too. Honestly.
I don't know.
Maybe the thing is pay on honor system, right?
Yeah.
And third, there's multiple of those pay stations, so you don't have to wait in line all at that one, because that line was long as shit.
Yeah. Walk to the front of it by the convention center.
A little bit more walking, you'll find one with nobody at it.
Yeah.
Get out quicker. So, all in all, though, with that one little experience, great night all around. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, that had nothing to do with the concert. The concert was great.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That little hiccup, though.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, it was fun. I'm glad we got to do it. Might not be able to do it again, so
yeah,
it was really good.
So yeah, just go check out live music. Who knows if you'll be able to see those bands again. If you do, that's awesome, but live music is just fun in general. You see some fucking awesome artists, amazing people as well, so live music's awesome. Just go check it out.
Bye.